Jojo, I need your help. I now know how to journalize, prepare a ledger and prepare a trial balance, and adjust journal entries. Well, what's next?
Hi Edward, I would gladly help you. Let's see. Before preparing the financial statements, you first need to know how to use a worksheet. A worksheet is a tool used to prepare accounting data and reports. It is often used to draft the unadjusted trial balance, adjusting journal entries, adjusted trial balance, and financial statement. In other words, the worksheet shows all the major steps in the accounting cycle side by side. Here what a worksheet looks like. This worksheet is called a 6-column worksheet. The steps in the preparation of a 6-column worksheet are as follows. On the uppermost part of the worksheet, the heading, which includes the name of the company, the report name, which is worksheet, and the date of the accounting period. On the heading of the columns, it contains the account titles, the unadjusted trial balance, adjusting journal entries, and adjusted trial balance. All column headings, except for the account title, must occupy 2 money columns, one for the debit and one for the credit.
Oh, so that is how a worksheet looks like. So how can I use the worksheet?
To use a worksheet, you need to input all the account titles in the account titles column in the following order: assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. Under the unadjusted trial balance column, the amounts derived from the ledger prior to adjustment shall be placed beside the respective accounts. In the adjustments column, enter the adjustments. Remember that each amount should be labeled with a letter or a number to easily track the adjusting entries made. If additional accounts are needed, they are inserted on the row after the totals on the trial balance. We derive the adjusted trial balance after combining the amounts of the unadjusted trial balance and the adjustments. Remember this: if both amounts are on the debit side, the sum is written on the debit column of the adjusted trial balance. If both are under the credit column, the sum is written on the adjusted trial balance's credit side. If a debit is combined with a credit, the difference of the two amounts will be transferred to either the debit or credit side of the adjusted trial balance, whichever is greater. When the debit amount is greater than the credit, the difference will be placed on the debit side. And when the credit amount is greater, the difference will be placed on the credit side of the adjusted trial balance. Transfer the amount that need no adjustment to the adjusted trial balance directly. Place a single rule under the debit and credit columns in line with the last account title and use a double rule for the totals. For example, you own a clinic named Edward's Dental Clinic. On the heading, the name of the clinic, the worksheet, and the date of the accounting period. Let's assume that you have journalized all your transactions and reflected it on the unadjusted trial balance. Even though the totals on the debit and credit sides are equal, you still noticed some balances that need to be updated or corrected. That is where adjusting and correcting entries come in. These are the details of your findings. On December 1, 20x1, you paid insurance expense worth $100, but recorded it as $120. A transaction with a customer who availed of a service worth $200 on December 1, 20x1, who will pay on 20x2 was not yet recorded. Paid utilities worth $210 but remains unrecorded. $600 of loans payable starting November 1, 20x1 bears a 12% interest. Let's solve these problems one by one using the worksheet. On the first item, $100 was supposed to be recorded, but on Edward's clinic entry, recorded it as $120. That means cash was understated and insurance expense was overstated by $20. The adjusting entry is a debit to cash and a credit to insurance expense. For the second problem, the adjusting entry will be a debit to accounts receivable and credit service income. For the third one, we need a debit to utilities expense and a credit to cash. But wait, the utilities expense is nowhere to be found in the worksheet. What do? We just need to add the account on the account title column just below the totals. Then, reflect the amount of the third adjustment. The last one would include an interest. To compute for the interest incurred, loans payable of $600 multiplied by the 12% interest rate multiplied by the number of months incurred equals $12. Like the utilities expense, an additional account is needed, a debit to interest expense and a credit to accrued interest payable. The last step will include combining the amounts on the unadjusted trial balance and on the adjustments column, and extending it to the adjusted trial balance column. On the cash account, $2,750 plus the debit adjustment minus the credit adjustment equals $2,560. Following the rule stated earlier, we now extend the amounts to the adjusted trial balance.